It has always been a central plank to Donald Trump's approach to politics to make us doubt what the media tells us, and more often than not, what we hear and what we see ourselves. The fake president's path to success, which he doesn't really have any success anyway, but it went straight through widespread disinformation about everything from election security to healthcare to immigration. Considering this, it is all the more surprising that in the past 2 weeks he decided to sit down for interviews with journalist Chris Wallace of Faux News and Jonathan Swan of Axios, who have a proven disdain for lying and obfuscating. There are plenty of media friendlies to whom the fake president could have turned to, and judging by the reaction to both interviews, he would have been better served to have done just that. As a Democratic partisan who's fully invested in the Joe Biden victory this November, the person that wrote this says they're not complaining when the fake president does these interviews. The Democratic Party's ads write themselves. And if his supporters are to be convinced that Trump isn't telling them the truth, they've got to hear this from the horse's mouth. But there's a disappointment that I feel as an American who has a fake president with such a blatant disregard for objectivity and truthfulness. At this moment in history, when a virus has claimed more than 160,000 American lives, we deserve a far better leader than what we have now. If there is to be a glimmer of hope that Trump's voters recognize the deleterious impact of his lies, we could just look back at just 3 years of Swan's interview where Trump's disregard for the truth should and potentially could matter to his inbred base. First, the narrative Trump tried to sell to Swan about America's response to the coronavirus is completely decimated. COVID-19 has been the most important issue to voters across the political spectrum for months now, and the latest surveys show that nearly 70% of the people are very worried about being infected, possibly. The fake president's approach of minimizing both the threat posed by the virus and its death toll was fully exposed in the interview. Trump continued to maintain that the United States has handled the crisis better than other countries, bringing misleading charts to explain his thinking. As Swan has pointed out, the fake president has been inaccurately marketing the death rate as a percentage of those infected and not a proportion of the population. As other countries grade their response, he was also misleading the public about how the virus is ravaging states such as Texas and Florida. And these aren't run-of-the-mill white lies. They're the stuff that affects public health, and when even Trump supporters began wearing face masks in public before the fake president did it can make a difference. Another crucial issue is how we're going to be able to safely and securely hold the presidential election November 3rd, and the fake President Trump shocked Democrats and Republicans alike with a tweet last week suggesting that the election be postponed because mail-in voting is unsafe, which it's not. Prominent GOP allies, including House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy and Senate Majority Leader Moscow Mitch, had pushed back. McConnell noted that never in the history of Congress has America not had an election on time. But this has not stopped Trump from pushing the narrative that mail-in voting, which is the same as absentee voting, is prone to fraud. Swan took him to task over this to lead into a hilarious exchange in which the fake president says, "We have a new phenomenon. It's called mail-in voting." To which Swan replied, "It's not new. It's been around since the Civil War." It seems that Trump's advisors must have told him how poorly he's doing with seniors in Florida, because he otherwise inexplicably tweeted hours after the interview aired that it's safe to vote by mail in Florida. This comes a month after the fake president's daughter-in-law, Lara Trump, dumb cunt, placed robocalls for the Republican National Committee calling mail-in ballots safe and secure in California's most recent special election. Americans want to be able to vote in November without risking their health to the coronavirus, yet the fake president appears to be more interested in spreading lies than helping them exercise their constitutional rights. And lastly, Trump's bumbled answer on intelligence shows that Russia has paid bounties for American soldiers in Afghanistan, and it exposed his deference to Vladimir Putin, his lack of understanding of the historical relationship between the Taliban and Russia, and what any honest broker would call a shortfall of support for American troops. In the face of Swan's questioning, Trump called the bounty story a fake news and not grounds for reasoning with Putin, despite the fact that the former commander of U.S. troops in Afghanistan said that Russia was supplying weapons to the Taliban, and what's more, it wasn't altogether clear from his answer that he reads his briefing book on top of it all. While this may seem like a smaller issue than the health or voting, it should really affect those who voted for Trump because of his support for the military. Trump regularly claims that he's the most pro-military fake president in history, which he's not, and loves our servicemen and women, which he doesn't. but calling a story about Russian bounties on American heads fake news, it is a surefire way to call into question his dedication to the military and American prominence. There were other important topics discussed in the recent interview that should give any Trump supporter pause, but overall it's clear that the fake president is not telling the truth to the public and he had no intention to tell the truth. If there is a line from the Axios interview that sums up Trump's side of things, it would be, "You can't do that. It applies to everything the fake president doesn't like, especially information that flies in the face of his lies." And he's been saying the same thing about voting for Biden, claiming the suburbs won't be saved, the economy will crash, and whatever else he comes up with. When it comes to electing a fake president this fall who tells the truth, we absolutely must do that. So if you like the video, give the video a like and subscribe to my channel, Rand Van Wyk, and also hit the notification bell so that you'll be notified when a new video comes out, and thanks for listening.